Yes, people. So they'll talk to you about choosing the right country that appreciate your talent. Now, this is very important because, as you know, the season's come to an end, and majority of every footballer, especially if you are playing non-league or on 1 years, or even if you're playing professional and you have to readjust or whatever, there's always going to come to a point where you've got to look at what's around you and whether you're going to get, if the coach or the team is getting the best out of you. Now, primarily, depending on the type of build you are, certain leagues will fit for you. So I want to go with the speedy winger or fullback. So if you're a speedy winger or fullback, i.e. you love running, track and field, 200-meter sprinter, okay, you love getting on the outside, your main ball game is off the ball movement, you like to get in from behind, then you will be very well suited in the United Kingdom, potentially Scotland, potentially Germany, if you are able to add some good decision making into your game. Because another thing is, you go to Spain and the build-up play is very slow. In some areas they do obviously play fast, don't get me wrong, but naturally the build-up play is very slow. They really take time with possession. You're more or less a wide receiver when you're a winger in Spain and those countries, where you're just trying to gain yardage for your team. So for example, you probably see a lot of Spanish wingers, they'll bring the ball up very quickly, bring the team up and do a nice chop or a Cruyff turn, and then they reset back to the fullback. So in another sense, all they do is gain yardage for the team at most points. So it's the different way that they use wingers that's different from the UK, and I've had that experience going over to Spain and playing, and I've literally, don't get me wrong, I used to get balls over the top, but then as if, you're talking about in the final third. In England, you're getting balls from the centre back, skipping the midfield, skipping everything, going over the top. In Spain, that ball is used, but it's not often. So this is where, again, you got to look at what type of football you're going to be. If you want to be that sort of player, getting the ball over the top, which is nothing wrong with it. I think personally for me, it is a lost art, and it does have its focal points in the team. That's how Arsenal was able to beat Barcelona at the Emirates through Theo Walcott's speed. But for me personally, that's not the majority of wingers of today's game. The game has changed to a different type of system. So that's the speed person. Then you've got the techie kind of Coutinho, Xavi, Iniesta, Messi sort of build player who hasn't got the top speed of a winger, but you've got very good 5 to 10, 15 yards acceleration, which is very good. And, you're very technical, very gifted on the ball, can make things happen. If you're this sort of player, the only way you're going to make it in England is if you're under a European manager who appreciates your style of play, or number two, under the likes of Pep or Mikel Arteta. Because the majority of non-league and even professional coaches will not play a Xavi or Coutinho. We've heard every scout say it. If Messi was in England, would he be playing professional football? The question is, Messi would be right now in Tate Gallery studying for his masters. He will not be a professional footballer in this country. I don't care what no one says. Everyone's saying, oh no, we would have found his talent. No, you would not. Because Mbappe came over to England and Chelsea said his defensive work rate was poor. They even wanted to shift him as a right back because of his speed. Look at Mbappe now. Case closed. So even Deco, I remember Deco said something the same thing as well. Sean Phillips struggled because of his height as well. The list goes on. So if you're that short player, I can't lie to you. Your likes of you making it in England for that height is very slim. You need to go to Spain. Is a beautiful country, that accepts those players. Matter of fact, the best players I've always played against have always been 5 foot, between 5 foot to 5'8". Those guys are invincible. You can't get the ball for them. You will not see Santi Cazorla playing These Santi Cazorlas are here in the UK, but they will not get the recognition because of the way the game is played. So remember what I'm saying, this is about your build. If your build is like this I'm describing, you need to get your passport ready, because the likelihood of you breaking through the ranks is going to be very slim. In England, they will charge and take a player who is 6 foot plus, hasn't got the technical ability of a 5 foot to 5'8" player, and they'll rather mold that individual because he's got the height and physical specimen to be able to dominate the game physically. But then when it gets to a pro football or senior level, that person or individual dies down because the game has been harnessed on physical powers as opposed to developing technical and mental attributes to be able to dominate the game. Okay, so I'm just being honest with you. This guide will just solve majority of your problems. If you see yourself not growing, don't get upset and say, oh man, I'm too small. And they won't tell you, listen, I know very, very, very good technical wingers in the UK that's played non-league, and the reason why managers don't want to play them is because they're too small. And what they do is they relegate them to a fullback position. If you are that high, you probably know what I'm talking about. Is probably you get relegated to to playing as a number 2, number 3, as a right back or a left back. Or if the managers are very clever, they may play you as an inside winger, may play you, but the likelihood of that is very, very slim. Again, if you're that sort of build, Coutinho, Xavi, Messi, Iniesta, Santi Cazorla, that sort of height, you again need to find a country like a Spain, like a Holland, like any, basically anywhere else except for the UK. Germany is a bit, 50-50. Germany is not that much different from the UK, I'll be honest with you. But I say that the likes of Spain, Italy, you'll be perfectly suited. Even Romania, etc. It's just different. And then you got the centre back, number 3. So if you're a centre back who is very ball playing, likes to play from the back, very good on the ball possession, etc. Again, you will not. Okay, let me say again. PK, when he was at Manchester United, he was slandered a lot because physically the league was a bit too much for him, and people said he was nowhere near, the level, blah blah blah. He ended up going to Barcelona, suited in their system because he's a ball playing centre back, and became one of the best centre backs at that time, amongst others. And that just shows you that if you are a ball playing centre back, you either got and if you're in England, you've got to find a European manager. Now you may think, why do you keep saying European managers? Because most non-league managers that's English predominantly do not like to play this style of football. They very much hate or despise their own team playing it, because they say, well, you can't win games playing pretty. Sometimes you've got to go long. Well, you go to the Pro League, you're talking about Championship, Premier League football is a different level. And this is where, again, I express you to understand what country suits your build. If you're a ball playing centre back, you can potentially play anywhere else in Europe and be very well appreciated. In England, you are forced to go long because the way that the game is played, players off the ball in your team do not show themselves, and if they do, they're just showing it for the sake. They're not comfortable in possession, and if you pass it to them, they say, well, you stitched me up, blah blah blah. And so for you to go and play as a ball playing centre back where the team is majority built on hitting the flanks, hitting the channels, you're not going to be well accustomed. I'm just being honest with you, unless you're going to play for, again, a European manager or like a Pep or a Mikel Arteta. It's just not going to happen otherwise. I'll just be honest with you, you have to go and get your passport and go overseas. So that's my thoughts. I'm just letting you know, because like I said, this is exactly what's happened. I can give you stories how, professional club in the north signed a player that was 6'2", because he was 6'3", 14 years old, and they wanted to sign him, which they did. Whereas they got bought another centre back who was about 6 foot, 5'11", 5'10", more technical. He didn't want to sign him. He thought he was actually rubbish, but he preferred the guy that was 6 foot. And it was all down to the point that he is physically bigger. And that's the issue that I'm having in England, and it's still the same thing we're talking about even in 2023, hoping that England would have changed their style of football and a way. And I'm just giving you how it is. If you are listening to this, this will save you a lot more time. England is built for fast, physical players. If you are, not trying to say if you're 5'5", 5'7", you can't play over here, but it's the managers overlook you. The moment you step into training and the manager sees that he's looking up to you, you've more or less got your name on the contract. When he sees you play and you're bodying guys and shouting and winning aerial duels, he wouldn't offer you something. I've been there myself because it happened to me. You understand me? So, and there's players that was better than me that didn't get signed because they were shorter than me, but I was just physical, more dominant. So hopefully this makes sense to you all. Let me know what you think about it in the comments.